Were all of the skyscrapers that fell down on 9/11 hit by an airplane? North of the Twin Towers stood WTC 6, which was badly damaged by fire and falling debris. Notice that it is still standing. North of WTC 6, there was a little-known skyscraper named World Trade Center 7. If a skyscraper 47 stories tall in downtown Manhattan unexpectedly fell into a mound of smoking twisted steel, would the corporate news media investigate the event? At 4:15 Eastern Standard Time, CNN's Aaron Brown reported that
we are getting information now that one of the other buildings, Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing.
We've got some news just coming in, actually, that the Salomon Brothers building in New York, right in the heart of Manhattan, has also collapsed. Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago, I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Presumably there were very few people in the Salomon building when it collapsed. I mean, there were, I suppose, fears of possible further collapses around the area.
That's what you would hope, because this whole downtown area behind me has been completely sealed off and evacuated, apart from the emergency workers. That was done by the mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
Jane, I think many of us, when we heard the news, perhaps on the radio earlier today, were completely flabbergasted by it and just couldn't comprehend it. I mean, it almost sounded too far-fetched. I was wondering what it's felt like for you being in Manhattan. Well, unfortunately, I think we've lost the line with Jane Stanley in Manhattan. Perhaps we can rejoin her and follow that up later.
Where did CNN and BBC get their information from? Only 5 minutes later, the premature news reports came true.
And numerous important documents, damaged less than the at 5:20 p.m. All structural elements inside Building 7 simultaneously fail, and it collapses symmetrically, imploding into a pile of rubble.
A characteristic of a controlled demolition implosion is that the building is pulled inwards and falls into its own basement, ending up in a tidy mound, causing minimal damage to the surrounding buildings.
Did Building 7 collapse because of damage from the falling North Tower? Or was it also a controlled demolition?
Edited out of most video clips, observe the east penthouse 7 seconds before the implosion.
Now, here we're going to show you a videotape of the collapse itself.
Describe that.
Now we go to videotape, the collapse of this building.
It's amazing.
Amazing, incredible, pick your word. For the third time today, it's reminiscent of those pictures we've all seen too much on television before, when a building was deliberately destroyed by well-placed dynamite to knock it down.
Then, a few hours later, something very strange occurred. It's as if a secret directive went out to all of the television network executives and all the newspaper editors proclaiming that, henceforth, all discourse about explosions or molten metal shall be censored. Furthermore, there shall be absolutely no media coverage of the destruction of WTC 7. It should be as if WTC 7 never existed. The media censors got to work expunging any information that could cause people to doubt the official Al-Qaeda did it conspiracy theory. Recently, radio talk show host Mancow Mueller passed on a question from his listeners to Donald Rumsfeld.
Building 7, I often hear about. No plane hit Building 7. Why did Building 7 come down? What do you tell people?
What is Building 7?
Or what was it, Building 5, or the building that wasn't hit by the plane? Building 7.
I have no idea. I've never heard that.
Oh. Do a talk radio show. Oh, you'll hear it.
Made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
Anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
And all of a sudden, it was this big explosion. I don't know if it's just like what you just seen. That's what we went through before we came out of the building.
There was another big explosion in the other tower.
Fire marshal came in and said we had to leave because if there was a third explosion, this building might not last.
Arising, phoenix-like, out of its own ashes, the new 7 World Trade Center is now standing tall, standing proud. Slimmer than before, World Trade Center Building 7 has been resurrected. 2 city officials narrowly escaped being killed in WTC 7 by powerful explosions that occurred before the collapse of the Twin Towers. Shortly after the first strike on the North Tower, Michael Hess, New York City's head lawyer, proceeded to the Office of Emergency Management's Emergency Operations Center.
Oil refineries in Louisiana.
When we have Frank Uciardo back on the phone with us, Brenda, with some New York City officials. Frank, go ahead.
That's right. I'm standing here right now just off Broadway by City Hall with Michael Hess, who is the city's corporation counsel. Mr. Hess, you were trapped in, I believe, 7 World Trade Center. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, I was. I was up in the Emergency Management Center on the 23rd floor, and when all the power went out in the building, another gentleman and I walked down to the 8th floor where there was an explosion, and we've been trapped on the 8th floor with smoke, thick smoke all around us for about an hour and a half. But the New York Fire Department, as terrific as they are, just came and got us out.
We're going to bring more of those to you now. Barry Jennings, you were on the 8th floor. You work for the City Housing Department. Explain to me the moment of impact.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the corporation counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor. And I turned to Hess, I said, this is it, we're dead. We're not gonna make it out of here. I took a fire extinguisher and I bust the window out. That's when this gentleman here heard my cries for help.
5.5 years later, independent researchers tracked down Barry Jennings and asked him to elaborate on his experiences of being trapped in WTC 7.
Hi, my name is Barry Jennings. I'm 52 years old. I've worked for 33 years at one location. Basically, that's it. I'm married, father of 4. It was very funny. I was on my way to work. Traffic was excellent. I received a call that a small Cessna had hit the World Trade Center. I was asked to go and man the Office of Emergency Management at the World Trade Center 7 on the 23rd floor. As I arrived there were police all in the lobby. They showed me the way to the elevator. We got up to the 23rd floor. Me and Mr. Hess, who I didn't know was Mr. Hess at the time, we got to the 23rd floor. We couldn't get in. We had to go back down. Then security and police took us to the freight elevators where they took us back up, and we did get in. Upon arriving into the OEM EOC, we noticed that everybody was gone. I saw coffee that was on a desk. Still, the smoke was still coming off the coffee. I saw half-eaten sandwiches. And only me, Mr. Hess, was up there. After I called several individuals, one individual told me that to leave and leave right away. Mr. Hess came running back in and said, we're the only ones up here, we got to get out of here. He found the stairwell. When we reached the 6th floor, The landing that we were standing on gave way. There was an explosion, and the landing gave way. And I was left there hanging. I had to climb back up, and now I had to walk back up to the 8th floor. After getting to the 8th floor, everything was dark. It was dark, and it was very, very hot. Very hot. I asked Mr. Hess to test the phones as I took a fire extinguisher and broke out the windows. Once I broke out the windows, I could see outside below me. I saw police cars on fire, buses on fire. I looked one way, the building was there. I looked the other way, it was gone. I was trapped in there for several hours. I was trapped in there when both buildings came down. The firefighters came, they came to the window, and because I was going to come out on the fire hose. I didn't want to stay there any longer, it was too hot. I was going to come out on the fire hose. They came to the window, they started yelling, "Do not do that, it won't hold you." And then they ran away. See, I didn't know what was going on. That's when the first tower fell. When they started running, the first tower was coming down. I had no way of knowing that. Then I saw them come back. Now I saw them come back with more concern on their faces. And then they ran away again. The second tower fell. So as they turned and ran the second time, the guy said, "Don't worry, we'll be back for you." And they did come back. This time they came back with 10 firefighters. And they kept asking, "Where are you? We don't know where you are." I said, "I'm on the north side of the building," because when I was on the stairs, I saw north side. All this time, I'm hearing all types of explosions. All this time, I'm hearing explosions. And I'm thinking that maybe it's the buses around me that were on fire, the cars are on fire. I don't see no, but I'm still hearing these explosions. When they finally got to us, and they took us down to what they called the lobby, because I asked them, I said, when we got down there, I said, "Where are we?" He said, "This was the lobby." And I said, "You gotta be kidding me." It was total ruins. Total ruins. Now keep in mind, when I came in there, the lobby had nice escalators. It was a huge lobby. And for me to see what I saw, it was unbelievable. And the firefighter that took us down kept saying, "Do not look down." And I kept saying why. He said, "Do not look down." And we were stepping over people. And you can feel when you're stepping over people. They took us out through a hole that I don't know who made this hole in this wall. That's how they got us out. They took us out through a hole, through the wall, to safety. As they were taking me out, one firefighter had fallen. I believe he was having a heart attack. But before that, this big, giant police officer came to me. And he says, "You have to run." I said, "I can't run. My knees are swollen." He said, "You're going to have to get on your knees and crawl in." He said, "Because we have reports of more explosions." And that's when I started crawling. And I saw this guy fall behind me. And his comrades came to his aid. They dragged him to safety. I was looking for an ambulance for my knees. And at that time, they told me, "We got to walk 20 blocks to refuge." Before I got there, Eyewitness News grabbed me and started interviewing me. And that's basically it.